Hi guys, this is the second lesson that I am recording for the night. It goes over class expectations and communication. So I realized in the first after a first week of teaching, I didn't really go over class expectations. I'm going to go over that now, and I do apologize if I say and ah a lot. It's just how I speak, but I'll try to keep that a minimum as I did rewatch the previous video, and it was kind of annoying to hear me do that a lot. So let's start with how you refer to me. My full name is Kobu Jackson-Bentley. When you are talking to me directly, you can use Mr. Kobu, Mr. Jackson-Bentley, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Bentley. Or if you have another name you want to call me, ask me, and if I like it or if I'm okay with it, then you can call me that. If not, then please do not. And one of the things I kind of want you guys to stop calling me is Mr. It's just very confusing. Number one, if there are multiple male teachers in the same vicinity, and it's just kind of disrespectful that you don't even want to try to learn my own name. Um, and yeah, I know you may not mean it like that, but also it's just something I feel like you guys should just not do, especially when you may need to go into an interview and you need to remember some employers' names or interviewers' names, and you need to say, I don't know, Miss Smith, as opposed to just Miss or Mrs. It will show that you are more prepared and you understand the respect that people deserve. You guys wouldn't like if I just called you student or something that just is the scripture of you. I just say, excuse me, can you tell me your name again? I understand that names are hard for some people. They're very hard for me, especially since I'm learning over 100 names very quickly, but just at least try. So please try not to call me Mr. You can use one of the four names provided, or you can ask me for a different name. When you're referring to me to another teacher or another faculty member, please only use Mr. Jackson Bentley. I understand the two names are very confusing, but that is my legal last name, so just so people can understand who I am, just use Mr. Jackson Bentley when referring to me to other teachers, just not to confuse them. As for attendance, I recently started walking throughout the class or outside of the classroom 305 in order to sub for other staff. Yeah, for other staff in other classrooms, and I can understand why some students take time more than 5 minutes needed to after the bell to go from one class to another. Um, Granted, for me personally, I've been only late because I don't really know where I'm going. They just give me a room number and I kind of just have to walk around for a bit until I find it, may ask for directions, but I can understand with the amount of students in the hallways, it can be very difficult for people to get to the exact room, especially since some of them just stop middle in the way, which is kind of not safe because if you get bumped, that's kind of on you. I digress. I have been being lenient on this because I do need to take attendance at some point. If you're tardy, you're tardy. At some point, it's kind of just on you not getting on class on time. So I'm trying to be more lenient, and so I give you guys an extra 3 minutes after the bell or whenever the announcement tells me to over the speakerphone to close my door, in which I will close my door after that, whichever one comes first. You should be in class before the bell rings. I'm not going to open my door until after I take attendance. Since I think my biggest class is about 20, maybe 25 students max, it takes me a minute to go through the names, assuming that people are paying attention. And we don't have to like go through 30 people saying, Mister, you marked me absent when I'm here. I'll get to that in a minute. Then it should take a minute max. And then which I will open the door, and then I will mark you tardy if you have a pass or not. As for attendants themselves, please, please just be quiet so it's not just you can hear your own name, it's for other people to hear their names as well. I understand other people are rowdy, but you are your own person. You are at least 14, 15 years old. You know what your name is. You know where you are alphabetically on a list, or at least your last name it should be. I also put it on the front of the smartboard so you can see it. So even if you cannot hear me, even though I don't know why you shouldn't, because I should not be raising my voice for you guys to hear me to the point where I'm yelling, you should know where your name is. You should know where it is. So if you get marked absent, at some point that's on you. I'm sorry. I've been very lenient. I understand I'm saying your guys' name and I am learning your names, but there are many of you guys who I don't know. So please, even if you see me like looking at you, that doesn't necessarily mean that I know you. Just please raise your hand very high, or please say here or something like that, so I can mark you present. Uh, I feel really annoyed by the fact I need to tell you guys to be quiet during attendance because you want to be marked present. So be quiet so you can be marked present. You're just kind of being rude otherwise. And if you continue this behavior, I will have a BT called in which you may need to go to ISS or OSS or detention. I don't want to get down to that, but this has been a reoccurring theme I'm noticing, and it's kind of disrespectful how I need to call another person and give you guys consequences in order for you to listen. I'm not trying to be rude, but you guys are rude to me, so I need to show you your actions do have consequences. Moving on. I won't take attendance unless, oh, excuse me, I won't accept anyone going away anywhere until I take attendance. So again, depending on how you and other people in the class do, this could take at minimum 30 seconds, or maybe it take me 5 minutes. Hopefully, it won't take that long, but we'll see. I don't want you guys to leave because even if like it's still the first like transition periods, because I may mark you a tardy or absent by accident because again, there's 90 of you. I just started last month. I'm taking it all in. I'm letting you know now I'm not doing this to be a jerk. I'm just doing this to let you know where we're on the same understanding. Uh, Again, if you come into my room after the fact that I took attendance, you're going to be marked tardy. I am giving you a grace period, so you technically have 8 minutes to get to my class as opposed to the 5. All right, moving on. When you ask me to go somewhere, as for if you need to go to the bathroom or the water fountain or the nurse, I should remove main office. But if you ask me to go to the bathroom, water fountain, or the nurse, I will be I will let you go. If you have a pass to go to somewhere specifically in the main office or another teacher's room, I will let you go. However, I will be calling the main office to make sure you're there. Um, just to know that you're not just walking around because I see that being a trend as much. I won't let you go to a different room just because you want to unless like gear up or just like even if it's like next door to Mr. Tattersall's room. Unless the teacher in that room tells me it's okay for you to be there. I know this class was more of a free period before, but it's more for you to learn something. I notice a lot of you guys are on your phones, not paying attention, which is part of the reason why I am recording this, not just to hear myself talk about things that I have already talked about for over 4 hours. It's there for I'm doing this for you guys to get the resources you need to pass the class. I'm trying my best. It's really unfortunate I need to do this in order for you guys to remember things, but I digress. You are here to learn something. What it is up to you. I'm just giving you the resources to do it. If a teacher does call you down or they want to call me, my phone extension is 14305. I did get an email after writing this lesson, which is kovu.bentley dash ess at gmail.com. Oh, sorry, not gmail.com, at waterbury.k12.ct.us. So if you just remember kovu.bentley dash ess, then the rest is just the same as everyone else's email. I will also have it up on Google Classroom for those who need it. Okay. Anytime you leave the room, I do have a sign out sheet. You should be aware of this by now if you have been in my room for the past 3 weeks. I asked for you to put your first and last name up there because many of you do have similar first and last, or excuse me, first or last name. So to distinguish you guys, I ask for you to write both. I also ask for you to tell me when you signed out, or the time you signed out. Let's say you signed out at 9:30. I want you to put 9:30. And then I also have a section for you to say where you are going. So if it's the bathroom, you put BR or bathroom. If you're going to the nurse, you say nurse. If you're going to a specific room, say either the room number or the teacher in that room. And then I will let you go. I'm not doing this just to feel like you guys are in a prison system or something. It's for your own safety and for me to know who is goofing around in the bathroom or walking around in class, even though they asked me to go to the bathroom, with the bathroom being literally directly across the hall. So I try to keep two people out at a time, at least for water in the bathroom. I'm maybe limiting more of that because I only have one pass, and I know sometimes the people who are on bathroom duty ask for a pass, and I can't really give two passes or one pass to two people, different people. Um, so I ask you to please, if you do have the pass, or if you are wandering out a bit, don't, because you have a line and you're kind of just being a jerk for no reason. Um, so please come back as soon as you're done with whatever you're doing, or else you might get written up. Going into that, if you're out for more than 15 minutes, I will be calling the office to find you, not necessarily to write you up. But if they seem it necessary as you are a repeated offender of this, that's not on me. That's on you to get back in time. I don't allow people to go out for anything unless it's like vital or really, really important in the last 10 minutes of class. I do let people go out after attendance, so if you've been holding it for, so you're not holding it for like 30 minutes or so. But the last 10 minutes, I don't want people leaving, as I've seen people leave and never come back, who I actually have been reporting. Uh, if you have gone somewhere, let's say you went to the nurse, after 15 minutes are gone by and you are not coming back, I will call the office to, or wherever you are, to verify where you are. If they don't answer, I will call the office to report you. Again, I'm not doing this to be a jerk, but these are just for your safety. Going into lessons, I'd make them relatively short. I personally do not think lessons, or at least my lessons, need to be an hour and a half long. I think the longest I ever had my lesson be was 40 minutes, in which I give you the most majority of the class time to do whatever you want, including assignments. They're there for assignments. I strongly can't stress this enough, strongly recommend that you use the resources I give you in order to pass this class. You have majority of the class time to do the assignments. You have me to either grade or look back at your previous assignments or clarify if you have any questions about the assignment or the lesson that we went over. I'm not going to ask every single one of you, hey, do you understand this? Hey, do you understand this? That's a complete waste of my time, because clearly if you guys aren't paying attention, why would I waste more effort than I already am into helping you guys if you don't want to help yourselves? My grading standards are not going to change because you missed 40% of the class just because you didn't want to pay attention. Whatever grade you get is what you get. I'm not saying, again, not saying this to be a jerk, but I'm just telling you sad life of reality. Because it doesn't stop after this classroom. It doesn't stop after high school. This is something that you will be dealing with for the rest of your life. If you don't do it for me, even though I do see that as disrespectful, do it at least for your peers. I allow you to be on your phone. I understand that there is some sort of phone policy where you guys are not allowed to be on it. I personally do not want to enforce that, as I feel like that would be 80% of my time, and that just seems like a waste. I let you guys use your phone for those who don't have a computer or take notes on their phones. I did that in high school and it personally helped me. But with great power comes great responsibility. So if you don't have the self-discipline to do that, you can take papers that are next to my desk and the pen to write notes if you feel like you don't want to have the urge there. I let you guys talk to each other quietly, although I do find it very annoying, especially one of my A classes who speaks very loudly over me, in which to the point where I'm almost yelling and losing my voice to hear myself and have others hear me. If I have to continue telling that class and other classes as well to quiet down, there will be consequences. I will be calling a BT. If the BT notices the same people, you may be getting ISS and OSS. As for assignments, again, this is old. This is like, I think, 3 weeks old. I have assigned currently 4 extra credits, in which all but one have been worth 1% of your grade, and another one being 3% of your grade. I have told you that you had 2 assignments due, 2 required assignments due, and I feel like I gave you a very many notices about it. Again, if you were absent, please let me know and we can figure that out. But even if all the assignments currently retro credit, I highly, highly recommend it and still do recommend that you do them. Not only will it boost your grade and you have nothing to lose about it, it also helps you understand what I'm looking for when I assign you work. I give you rubrics for a reason and they are detailed for a reason. I don't personally consider myself a harsh grader, I just consider myself a reality grader in the sense that if I think you deserve an 80, you deserve an 80. I do believe in 100s. I will give 100s, but I'm not going to give charity 100s. Just because you hand something in does not mean it will be a 100 immediately. You will have to work for it, which is why I highly suggest you utilize the time in class, look over it with me, look over the resources I give you to see what kind of grade you would get and if you're on the right track. So like I said before, all extra credit assignments are going to be 1%, unless it stated otherwise. It may not seem like a lot, but I currently only assigned 4 right now, and so in total, I think you can have a max 7% increase. So let's say you have a 90, that goes up to a 95, that's an A minus to an A plus right there. So they do add up over time, so that's why I think they are worth it. Again, like I said before, it also helps you understand my grading style. All required assignments are going to be worth exactly the same unless stated otherwise. So currently we have assignment 1 and assignment 2 at the time of recording this. So both are worth 50%. Once we add more, 3 will be worth 33% each, 4 will be 25, etc., etc. I will accept late work, but it will be marked off 5% every day, including weekends. I understand some of you guys may say, oh, but wait, what if I have your class on a B day and tomorrow's an A day? Does that mean, can I just not wait until it's a B day again, which would be 2 days? No, that will be 10% off instead of 5% off because you waited 2 extra days. I have no way to verify that you didn't spend that extra day actually doing assignment and you were just bluffing. Also, my room, I rarely ever leave my room 305. I have occasionally, in which if I'm not there or I'm just absent that day, go to the main office with your assignment, ask them to, or just say to the secretary there, hey, this is for Mr. Jackson-Bentley for video production 1A, or whatever the period is. Tell them to write the date, and I will get back to them and verify that you gave them the assignment at that time. I gave you guys class time to do the assignments, a lot of class time, and so I think including weekend is completely fair, and I don't really think there's any objections to that, or at least any reasonable ones, so I will be continuing this policy unless stated otherwise. So, as for Google Classroom, actually I'm going to skip this slide because it's very, very outdated and I will go over it later. So as for alternating schedules, I teach this class 6 times throughout A days and B days. I will try to keep it as consistent as possible, so each class has the same amount of days to do it. Maybe one class will have 1 to 2 extra days to do something because of the weekend, or maybe there's a snow day, but it's considering it's March. That may not happen, but we live in Connecticut, so who knows. Regardless, I will try to keep them consistent, and so if you have me on Wednesdays or any other day we have half days, that's gonna most likely be a free period to keep the schedules consistent, so it's 2 days for both A days and B days. Again, just going over current assignments. I don't really want to go over this because I know it's outdated, but just please do the assignments I give you. If you are absent or miss a lesson for whatever reason, and you also miss the assignment, it is your responsibility to tell me that you missed the class. I am noticing attendance has been dropping a lot, and whether that be because you guys don't want to go, or you got sick, or you got on a field trip, whatever the issue may be, I am not keeping track of 90 students' attendances. That is way too much effort on me and highly unreasonable. If you care about your grade, you will put in the effort in order to tell me, hey, I was missing for March 5th and March 4th. Can you please tell me what I missed? And I will work with you in order to get the appropriate extensions. So if you missed an assignment, you'll get maybe 2 extra days, not 2 extra days, but the same amount of days as the other people got. So if they got 7 days to do it, you'll probably get 7 or 8, depending if it's on a weekend or something. Like I said again, I'm mostly in room 305. If I'm not there, talk to the main office and leave a note. You don't really get your extension extended just because you waited like a month later to tell me, oh, I missed a class from a month ago, so I didn't know about that. No, you're not slick. As for leaving, this mostly goes for my 4A and 4B classes. You are not allowed to leave early for any reason unless given permission by me or another faculty member. You saying, oh, another teacher lets me do this, or it's only a minute, is not a valid reason. My reasoning behind that is, okay, it's just a minute. Okay, great. That minute can turn into 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes. At that point, you might as well just not go to class. That may seem like an extreme, but I don't care. That is my rules. A lot can happen in a minute. You guys are my responsibility. I don't want anything to happen to you guys. It's not going to kill you to wait. I don't really know what to say in that regard. I've been saying this over and over again. If I catch you doing it, I will write your name down and notify the main office. And I will also have BTs waiting outside the door in order to catch you. I gave you many, many chances at this point. At this point, it's on you. And this is just me reiterating. I don't care what other subs or other teachers do it. These rules are mine. You can talk to me, in which if you have an actual reason that I think is, reasonable, I will respect that and I will try to accommodate. But saying, Mister, that's not how things work here. You're new, you don't understand this. That's not a reason. I don't think I asked for much in this class. I just asked for respect. I feel like I've been very respectful for you guys. And I'm not saying all of you guys are being disrespectful. I'm not saying it's majority or 50% or whatever. I am not going to really say what the percentage is or care. This is just me saying, for the people who do want to be in this class or do want to try to get a grade, continue the things you are doing. Just continue being respectful, and I'll work with you guys. For the people who don't care about this class, that's up to you. Just try not to be disruptive to me and the others who actually want to learn. So, I said to you guys that I would. Oh, excuse me. This is the extra credit 2 assignment. I did go over this already, at least in the last video. I said I would be doing all these assignments with you, and here's the rubric. I'm not going to go over that. You can look at that in your own time. But I said I would be doing these assignments with you, and I will be changing the policy of when I show these, but for now, I'll just show them. I'll just read them off. So, let's go over the assignment again for people who don't remember. In at least 10 sentences, tell me some of your hobbies. Then tell me a skill you get from those hobbies and how that can relate to video production. Explain how you can make a career out of that skill, either in or out of video production industry. Write on a piece of paper your first last name at the top, blah, blah, blah. So, I did this assignment twice, and I'll be going over them and doing this to show what I'm looking for. So I said, I like to play video games. One of the skills I got from that hobby was the ability to provide information without using words, which is also known as affordance. One example is from the game Far Cry 6. The story is that you are a soldier where you fight in a revolution for the freedom of your country from a dictator. You are working with scraps as you have no military power and you are hiding from the tyrannical government. To keep a low profile, the revolution has created their own road system and uses the color blue to tell other soldiers that this information is meant for them. For the player, this means anytime they see the color blue, it means the corresponding item, location, or person is to aid the player. In contrast, the tyrannical soldiers wear the color red along with their military equipment and vehicles. And here's some examples of that, including uh, I think her name's Espada, which is like the sword, who's an ally in the game. And then you can see this very small road map, or rather road, to show like this is controlled by the player. And this dark red thick line is like enemy territory, which means in the game that if you're caught in it, you will be shot on sight. Same with these smaller red areas here. I know it's very hard to see on a small screen, but you can see them. And then here's one of the soldiers. You can see they're marked with red and white, along with their military and with their logo at the bottom, or on the door right here. The game never outright says blue good, red bad, but it's used so frequently throughout the game that the player will understand this the more they play the game until it becomes second nature to them, which is the definition of affordance. And from Merriam-Webster, it says the quality or property of an object that defines its possible uses or makes clear of how it can or should be used. So affordance is used a lot in ways that we don't initially think about it, and that's kind of the point. Some people consider these things common sense, but I'll get into that later why I personally do not like that phrase. But for now, let's see the first example here with this picture on the left. So the first one is that people are opening and closing a door, or trying to open a door rather, in which the flat surface here tells you can't really pull the door, so your initial thought is to push it, right? And so that works well. But you may have noticed at some stores where they have this bar, but it's on both sides, and I know some doors tell you to push slash pull to differentiate that, which way you're supposed to, move the door. But the handle itself is very difficult to know, as in here, this guy is pulling on the door because that's what you're supposed to do. That's like your initial thought when you see a handle. You pull on it, you grab it, and you pull. But it's not opening, which is bad affordance. Other examples are buttons. So if you're on an elevator, you push the button. There's nothing really else you can do with the button. I guess you can caress it, I guess. But that's not really going to do what you want it to do. Switches, you can flick it up and down. Again, nothing really else you can do. Knobs, twist, turn. And these things give you what we call light feedback, since there's really no other way to do those things or utilize those things. You get a feedback by using them quote unquote correctly or their intentional use. These are examples of affordance. All right, moving on. The use of colors is very common throughout many games that people who play games often can pick these types of tips up more quickly compared to people who play more casually. So people who play games in this class, here's some examples such as Mirror's Edge and the Less with the GIF of this person running. And there's a giant big red thing, and it's supposed to be, I think, some sort of scaffolding tool. I'm not really good with construction, so I apologize if that's not the right word. But point is that it's really big and red, and that is to tell the player that you can interact with it. Mirror Edge is a game in which you can look it up in your own time, but there's a lot of uses of the color red to tell you what the player can and can't parkour of. It's kind of like a follow the yellow brick road situation, if for people who are familiar with the Wizard of Oz, which I very hope that many of you at least know of what I'm talking about. In some cases, that some video games actually use yellow paint to specify where to go. So this game on the right, which I believe is Final Fantasy VII, the remake, where Cloud is grabbing onto a ledge, and you can see the yellow marks right here to show what is safe for the player to grab and what isn't. And these are there are many more examples of how affordance is used in this case, but this is the most common example. Moving on. I can use this skill in video production with the layout of information. Regardless if I can make a commercial, YouTube video, or presentation for work, there is going to be some sort of affordance. I don't need to convey all my ideas through words alone. It's better that way, as it keeps people more engaged with the material if they can relate to it in some way. It depends on the scenario and my audience, but if I can put research into either to understand them, I can use that information to convey my message in a more engaging and understandable way. So, in this case, using this video as an example or this presentation, I'm using affordance with the use of pictures and examples, relatable examples, in order to convey my message. Because I could have technically just made this entire last 5 slides just a bunch of text like this, but that's not really something I don't think anyone really wants to see/hear. I don't think you guys just want to hear me say things for an hour and a half without some sort of visual guide, as some of you may not understand what Far Cry is or what kind of game it's like. And so the use of these examples can give you a better idea, even if it's not the full message or the full meaning behind it. It's better than nothing. And these examples and me taking the time to further explain them outside of my words or what I wrote on the paper can help you further understand what I'm looking for in these assignments. So I think this in total, this specifics assignment or this submission was 16 sentences. You don't need to go into that much detail. Excuse me, in that many sentences, but I do prefer quantity over quality. So if you need to have more sentences in order to convey what you need, that's fine. Just please don't try to pad things out. I'm noticing a lot, especially with assignment 2, that some people just add 2 to 3 sentences just to get that 10 sentence requirement, which is not what I'm looking for, and I have deducted points off for the people who I do notice do that. Moving on. Actually, give me one moment. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. I had to fill up my water bottle because I didn't realize I was talking for a little bit and I was running out of steam. Anyway, let's go into my second example for the assignment. So my second one was more about programming and documentation, in which I said, excuse me, sorry, which I said I like to create many programs, including making some video games. Since programming requires the developers to be very specific in order to have the product work as expected, I learned how to be very explicit with my words, almost being literal at times. This can be used in video productions as some people will need to be told what to do, whether you are a boss of employees, a programmer who needs to tell someone how a certain application works, or just a customer support representative who needs to work with customers some sort of documentation and or relation of information to at least one other person. Now I know this wasn't 10 sentences, but this video is already 30 minutes and I kind of want to speed things up and get into my actual lesson. But the point is that you are going to be communicating with a lot of people, whether that be through verbal communication, whether it be through asynchronous like this video and maybe you writing a comment or an email to me asking a question about this, or just documenting some sort of conflict slash conversation you have with another person. You are going to be talking to someone and you're going to need to sometimes be explicit with certain details, as maybe some people don't have the same experience as you and they may interpret things a little bit differently. um, or and it's not that they're stupid or anything, it's just more of they just have a different worldview slash perspective than you. And I'll get to that more. Just wanted to get into my topic for today, which is communication and conflict resolution. And to start off, I want to talk about this prompt or found off of Reddit, which is like a funny little story, and it goes like this. A wife asks her programmer husband to go to the store, in which she says, "Can you go down to the store and get a gallon of milk? And if they have eggs, get 6." Later he returns home and she looks at his purchases and says, "Why do you have 6 gallons of eggs? Or excuse me, 6 gallons of milk?" He responds, they had eggs, which is a little funny. Um, I want you guys to take a moment and pause and first think about what the wife's thinking was. What was her thought process? You can write it out as a flowchart or just, say it out loud. But pause here and take a minute to think about what the wife's thought process was. Okay? In which this is a pretty good example of the wife was thinking, go to the store and get a gallon of milk. Put the milk in the bag or in the cart, whatever. And then you ask yourself, or the husband would need to ask themselves, does the store have 6 gallons of milk? If it does, then get the 6 gallons. Oh, excuse me, not the 6 gallons. What's wrong with me for today? Sorry. The husband would need to go to the store and see if they have at least 6 eggs. In which, if they do have 6 eggs, get the eggs, and then get the 6 eggs specifically, and then put it in the bag, and then leave the store, buy the items, and leave the store. Those are the wife's thinking. I want you to pause here and now tell me what you guys think the husband's thinking is. And if you know programming, then you kind of know where this is going. Okay. And so husband's general thinking was, does the store have 6 eggs? Yes or no? If it does, then get 6 gallons of milk. If they don't, get 1 gallon of milk, and then whichever way, just buy either 1 or 6, depending on which one is true or false. Which sounds very, very silly to some people, but I want you guys to think. Just raise your hands or just like think to yourself, do you think the husband was in the wrong for this mistake? And then if so, just ask yourself or tell yourself why. And then I want you to do the same thing for the wife. And I'm never going to say neither is right or wrong in this sense. And this goes into my pet peeve of mine of the phrase common sense. I personally very, very hate that phrase as it's kind of belittling sometimes as it has been used to me. Everyone has their own experiences of thinking. No one has gone through the same life, and while it may be frustrating sometimes to have someone or teach someone something that may be very, very easy and like, common sense, quote unquote, for you, but it's not for them, and you can't necessarily fault them for that. It's be like, all right, guys, I want you guys to do your taxes for the year, and none of you probably don't even know what a W-2 is. That's kind of the thing I'm getting at. It's just life experience. The way you usually get through those conflicts or this frustration as the husband, or excuse me, the wife had with her husband is through communication. Sometimes it's just communication errors. And you guys are gonna use communication or communicate with many people in the world, friends, family, coworkers, romantic partners, platonic partners, whatever. You're gonna communicate with your life and or throughout your entire life, in which you will get into at least one conflict in your life. You already have. I guarantee. There's no way you're, however old you guys are, and you have not get into a conflict. Um, and when I say conflicts, that doesn't necessarily mean they are fights per se. There are many kinds of conflicts, such as scheduling conflicts, for example. Let's say you and I need to want to hang out for lunch, in which you can't, or at least we can't because our schedules don't line up, or we can't find a time. Constructive feedback slash criticism. So, like I said with my last video, I was looking for constructive feedback on how the video was, and just because you guys say like, oh, I didn't like this because I just felt like it wasn't that engaging. That, granted, you need more details to make it more constructive, but that is considered feedback, and that could be considered a conflict because it's just not, we aren't on the same page per se, and that just may be something we need to work out for. It doesn't necessarily require aggression, like I gave with that example. That's just some people agreeing to disagree or just having a little bit of a quote unquote spat, as some people like to call them. I don't like calling them fights per se. But yes, conflicts do involve fights, but that's not the only thing that uh, is considered a conflict. So, I want you to take some time to think about what examples uh, where conflicts can occur and communication uh, is used during video production. Just take some time for that. I'll give you like 5 seconds to pause and unpause. Right. Some examples are with creative differences. Video production is a very artistic form in which it requires a lot of creativeness and differences of opinions or different perspectives in order to have a work that many people will see as interesting. And sometimes people throughout the production of whatever that product is can have differences in which they feel like one person's way is right, but another person's way is right. That they can go at it at each other, and it can be cause some conflict, and which that can slow down production a little bit, or can escalate very, very badly to people getting fired. More on that later. We already talked about scheduling conflicts, for example, like the lunch example, but it can go to more business side of things where you are a businessman and you are in charge of the product of a video game in which you need to meet with the arts director, the game programmers, the customer who are playing the game or play testing the game. You need to keep track of all these people and all these important tasks, and you need to make time for all of them. So if you neglect one, maybe the game will go down in the toilet, in which it will probably never be able to see the light of day. There's another example of conflicts. Budget cuts, such maybe as a production or one of those teams that I previously mentioned was unable to or needs to cut their budget in order to make sure that the game is afloat, stays afloat, but maybe the people in that team might not be happy as they may see that as you not caring about the team, in which that can cause some conflict. Moving on. Uh, Now I want you guys to think about some ways you can escalate a conflict. Some ways you can do that is being accusatory, and one of the biggest ways I see that is using you statements as opposed to I statements, and I'll just go over one for now. If let's say you and I are in a talk with each other, an argument, and I say, you never listen to me, and I'll make it more specific. Let's say I'm targeting you in class and I hear, you guys never listen to me. You guys are just lazy. You don't care about this class. You are one of the worst students I ever had, and you guys are never going to get anywhere in life. You guys would feel, I assume you guys would feel like really mad. Um, Probably would say muttering things under your breath about me and how I'm just an a-hole and I don't care about you guys, yada, yada, yada. And while I understand that I may have seen things like that, I'm not explicitly targeting any students. I understand that what I said before may be true for some, but not true for others, so I don't like accusing people. Anyway, if I said, guys, I feel unheard, I feel very disrespected by the loudness in the room. I would prefer if you guys would quiet down and allow me to teach my class, just not just for people who want to be here, but for you guys who I think should get your grade up. That would be a more, let's say, appropriate tone, less accusatory. You're more willing to listen to me because I'm not really accusing you of anything, and you feel less attacked. There's many other examples of you versus I statements, but the general gist is the same. On the opposite hand, let's say you as a student, um, maybe you don't try to take things as being like an attack as well. Some people may be just blunt and say, "Hey, I don't like how you do this," and that's not necessarily them attacking you per se. They just have like maybe something that they don't like about you, or something that you do that they don't feel comfortable around. Rather than being defensive about it, I personally think it would be better if you try to manage your emotions, not take it literally, and don't attack react immediately. Just take some time to yourself, or try to listen to the other person. Otherwise, you can have the other person. It feels like you guys are just gonna go at each other, and it's like talking to a wall, and it sometimes just doesn't work, and you guys are just becoming exhausted. And going into that, sometimes people's emotions can get high, in which you just need to give yourself or them time to calm down, and maybe you guys can come at it later at a different moment, and hopefully the lack of being angry or sad and or whatever strong emotion you have at that moment will allow you guys to get through the conflicts more smoothly. So again, another way to pause, just think of some ways, good ways to avoid, resolve, or de-escalate a conflict. I already went through some of these, so I'm not going to go into complete detail again. But good ways, some good ways is of actively listening, and again, that doesn't mean waiting for the other people to speak, person to finish and say, "Are you done?" and then you immediately just waiting to get out whatever you want to get out, as that's not active listening. That's just you waiting for your turn. You can wait for your turn, but you can take a moment to think about what they said and reflect on it. And maybe it will be easier for some people than others, but try to hear what the person is actually saying and reflect on it in order for them for it to see like, huh, maybe they are right. Let me express my still feelings, but also keep their feelings in mind to make sure that they are also being heard and we can come to some sort of compromise. Because of course, you know your emotions more than anyone else, so I don't think you repeating them over and over is going to get anything done. Well, excuse me. Going on to that, it's like also staying calm. Sometimes you may need to wait a few minutes in order to respond, or maybe depending on what the situation is, you may need to wait a few hours or a few days. Don't try if you're consider yourself a hothead, which I consider myself a hothead a lot. Try to stay calm. Try to not get your emotions get the better of you. Um, and people are maybe more willing to listen. Try to find common ground and compromise if you can. Just like, okay, well, I don't like how my brother takes the PlayStation every week, or every day of every week. Let me try to make it so he has it every other day and I have it those other days. And sometimes some people will just try to mess with you, and which you need to just control your emotions and pick your battles. Like, is this something really I want to worth over for? Yeah, this guy is calling me a bunch of names and he's like saying some things about my mother, but am I going to let him get to me? Am I going to punch him in the face? No, I might get ISS or go to jail, depending on the situation. It's just not always worth getting into fights with people. So this is going to go into my extra credit assignment. I'll read the prompt, but I'm not going to go over the rubric because that's already given to you. In at least 10 sentences, explain a time you were in a conflict, either in or out of school, while it was, or work for people who do have jobs. But while it was occurring, did you feel justified with your thoughts at the time, or has hindsight changed your thinking? Could you have done anything differently to better handle that situation? If so, what was it? If not, explain what you did, explain why you did everything you could, and how could you use that experience to help you be a better person in the future. So again, here's the rubric. I don't write these things out just to write them out. They're there for help to help you. But that's all I have for now. If you have any questions, please email me or talk to me in person. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.